watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Hello and welcome to Law Talk on Germantown Municipal Television. My name is Vince Perryman. I'm a local attorney with the law offices of J. Vincent Perryman. Each month, Law Talk focuses on a wide range of legal issues and topics. Today's show is part one of a two-part series that will focus on Social Security law. With us now is attorney Chris A. Cornaghie. Chris, thanks for being with us.
Pleasure.
It's one of these things that Social Security is this huge topic that we always hear about during debates. We always hear a lot about it, but it's one of those things that when somebody asks me about Social Security benefits or how to get them or when they're entitled to them, I'm always like, I really don't know. So, but this is a practice area that is what you do.
That's correct. I've been in practice, well, for quite a long time, at least close to 40 years now. I was an attorney with Social Security for 6 years during that part of that time, and this really is my sole practice, is Social Security matters and Social Security benefits.
Okay, so in general, we all hear about the Social Security Administration. We know there's maybe some disability that you can get from it, and then some sort of retirement benefit.
That's correct. The Social Security Act, originally instituted in 1937, has a variety of different provisions to it. One of the provisions called Title II, and that's a Roman numeral II, is retirement, survivors, and disability benefits. That's the one that most people come in contact with. It's based upon the FICA taxes that are taken out of people's paychecks or self-employment tax, etc. Of course, another part of Social Security is Medicare, Title 18. And then there's a secondary disability type of benefit called Title 16, also known as Supplemental Security Income. Most people come into contact with Social Security through the first set of benefits, retirement, survivors, and disability. If you're working, you will get a notice from Social Security, and they send those out when you're 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, and then when you get close to retirement age, which is currently 62, although that may be subject to change. Early retirement, payable to someone at 62, is a 25% reduction in benefits. If you wait until full retirement, which for most people now is 66, or it could be 66 and 3 months, 66 and 6 months, etc., you get your full retirement benefit without reduction, and you can work and make whatever amount of money you wish, and it will not reduce your Social Security benefit. If you take benefits between 62 and 66, there will be a reduction based on work activity. All of these benefits, however, require that the individual have worked and paid enough into Social Security to qualify. And for the most part, you have to have paid in at least 10 years. It doesn't have to be 10 consecutive years, it just has to add up to 10 years. But that's required for both retirement and survivors benefits. For disability benefits, there's an additional requirement. Not only must you have paid in the 10 years, but you must have paid in 5 out of the last 10 years to qualify. You get, in effect, a year's worth of coverage by earning at least last year in 2015, it was $4,880. So if you at least worked and made that much, you would have got all of the coverage for that particular year. Of course, the longer you work, and at higher paying jobs, then of course the more you're paying into the Social Security Fund, and naturally your benefits would therefore be higher, because it is a mathematical computation based upon what you paid in. One thing that I tell a lot of people when they get these notices from Social Security is be sure to look at these very carefully, because there's a time limit to amending your earnings record, which is what Social Security calls the computation of all of your earnings paid in. And interestingly enough, that time limit is 3 years, 3 months, and 15 days from the last time that you had those particular earnings. So as an example, if you haven't checked your earnings record in quite some time, you might find that there might be errors or omissions and consequently you would want to try to clarify those with Social Security as soon as possible, because Social Security's computation of the earnings are deemed correct unless you can absolutely prove that they are incorrect.
Okay. And does that happen a lot?
Well, it actually happened to me.
Oh.
I actually had my earnings record. I was reviewing it one time, and I noticed that there was a mistake, and there were no earnings credited to me for a couple of years, which actually turned out to be a mistake on my taxes as far as how they were filed. And it actually took me a bit of time and effort to get that clarified with Social Security. Now, you can actually do this online now. One of the great things that Social Security has done is they have a very, very sophisticated website, ssa.gov, and if you want to check to see what your earnings requirements might be at this point, you can go to ssa.gov, you can go to the menu item that says get a copy of your earnings and benefit statement. You have to create a Social Security user account, which means you have to enter a password and a username. And then, this is interesting, in order to verify that you're the appropriate individual requesting this information, Social Security will go through some security questions online. There are multiple choice questions, but when I did it, the first question that I was asked was, what was your maternal grandmother's maiden name? Which for me, I wasn't actually quite sure at that time. Luckily, since it was multiple choice, I guessed, and that was the correct answer. But as you can see, it goes through some more fairly detailed questions about you. So at this point, major concern about what the National Security Agency has about information on everyone. It's too late. Social Security already has all this information.
Yeah.
The benefits under, as I said, under Title II are as follows. If you're filing for retirement benefits, age 62, of course, or age 65 or 66 if that's your proper retirement age. Your spouse at age 66 can also, 62, can also qualify for benefits. A child, if under 18 or 19 and still in high school, can qualify. A child at any age, if disabled before age 22. A spouse at any age, if caring for a child under age 16. And a divorced spouse, if married for 10 consecutive years and not remarried before age 60. Now that one has an interesting aspect to it because you note the phrase 10 consecutive years. So if an individual is married, they get divorced before the end of the 10 years, they end up being divorced for a while, remarry the same person, they may not have been married for the 10 consecutive years if they get a divorce the second time around. A lot of the Social Security provisions, of course, are a little on the complex side.
Yep.
Survivors' benefits are much the same. In effect, an individual would receive benefits on the number holder, that's the wage earner, that paid enough into Social Security. They would be eligible for those same set of benefits. And then we have the disability benefits in which both the number holder who is disabled and some of the beneficiaries that I've mentioned would also be eligible for benefits.
Okay, and that's a great place to stop for right now. When we return, we'll continue our discussion on Social Security law. Please stay with us.
Really? Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back. I'm Vince Perryman, and you're watching Law Talk. With us on our show today is Chris Cornaghie. We are discussing Social Security law. Chris, before the break, we'd gone through all the different benefits that you can get and all of this. I guess, what's the next step with this, sort of the process in claiming your benefits, or?
Well, yes, but to go back to part of the topic previously on the benefits, if you are eligible for benefits under Title II, and again, that's the benefit in which the wage earner has paid in sufficiently to Social Security, those benefits can range anywhere from as little as $100 a month to roughly about $2,800 a month. That's called the PIA, the primary insurance amount, and that's what the individual would get. However, all those other benefits I mentioned, to children, spouses, etc., those fall under the category of family benefits or auxiliary benefits, and there is a family maximum that can be paid to individuals who are eligible for benefits on the wage earner. And that is generally no more than about 50 to 80% plus over and above what the wage earner is receiving. But it's much like a pie or a pot, so to speak, so that depending upon how many people are drawing benefits, their share may be cut into smaller pieces of pie. Or, as someone goes off benefits, say in the case of a child who turns 19 and is not in high school, those benefits go back into the pot and are then redistributed to whoever the beneficiaries are. Again, children, of course, can receive a benefit, but the individual who paid into the fund must have paid in enough for the child to be eligible. As far as retroactive benefits goes, and this is sometimes what people want to know about, is if it's a disability benefit, you can be paid as much as 1 year retroactively from the date of the application. As far as retirement and other types of benefits, those are generally payable as of the date of the application. Another piece of information that people might find of value is recall that Social Security always pays a month late. So in effect, a payment, say this month in October, is actually for September. And since they arrange payments based upon first week, second week, third week, fourth week, you could get a payment this week and it's actually for last month. Sometimes that can be a little confusing for people. As far as the process, Social Security's made that very user-friendly now with the use of the website. You can go to ssa.gov and you can file for both retirement and disability benefits in that regard. If you file for widow's benefits or SSI, you'll have to go into the Social Security office. You can call Social Security at their 1-800 number, which is 1-800-772-1213. Or you can go into the local Social Security offices. Here in Memphis, we currently have 3, one on Austin P, one on Monroe and Cleveland, and one on South 3rd. Social Security will take the application, or you can fill it out online, and whatever your claim for benefits are at some point, then they will make a determination. And every notice that goes out from Social Security will contain generally the following phrase, that if you are dissatisfied or not happy about the decision, you have only 60 days to file an appeal. And those are 60 calendar days. That includes weekends and holidays. So consequently, this is a very, very quick time frame for any kind of appeal process within the law. The stages of appeal are the individual would file the initial application. If it was denied, they would file what is called a reconsideration, again within 60 days. And although you have 60 days to file the appeal, Social Security doesn't have any real time frame in which they have to render a decision after the appeal is filed. So after the reconsideration, you have 60 days to file a request for hearing, which is an administrative hearing before a Social Security judge, generally located in the area where the person lives. If that situation is not favorable and you choose to appeal, you have 60 days to file a request for review with the Appellate Review Board in Washington, D.C., called the Appeals Council. And finally, if that is not satisfactory, you have 60 days to file a lawsuit in the United States Federal District Court for the district in which the individual resides. And then at that point, you follow the federal court appellate process, which could include, theoretically, going all the way to the Supreme Court, although that would be somewhat rare in a Social Security case.
So how are the Social Security judges appointed?
Social Security judges go through the civil service process of being hired. They're appointed by civil service. It's a lifetime appointment. The particulars require that you be in practice for at least 7 years, be a licensed attorney. You have to have, I believe, at least 2 to 3 years administrative law experience. The process can be fairly lengthy and laborious. I've been through it. I was certified to be appointed a judge at one point. So you have to get through all the paper process. Then there's an interview process in the regional office. Then there's a 6-hour test. And then there's a final interview in Washington, D.C.
It sounds like it's more difficult to be a Social Security judge than most of the other judges.
Actually, I believe it is. There's certainly a lot more certification process to it. They do have to take a test.
Yeah. And it's always interesting, the different administrative judges that we've got in the federal system, you know, because we've got the tax court judges and all that sort of stuff there too.
Well, this is roughly the same process. You would just be appointed to the Social Security Administration. I forget the exact number. I think there may be something like 3,000, 3,200 administrative law judges throughout the federal government, and of those, 1,500 are Social Security judges. So there are Social Security hearing offices. Really, we have one here in Memphis, one in Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, Kingsport, Jackson, Mississippi, Tupelo, Mississippi, Paducah, Kentucky, Little Rock. All of those actually have Social Security hearing offices. But many of the Social Security hearings are now going video hearing with national hearing offices in which judges may be located in other parts of the country, but they're going to conduct the hearing by video.
Okay. Yeah, that's somewhat similar to, we've got, if you want to move along a tax court case, you pick the DC circuit and then just have your witnesses video conference in on that. But
well, in Social Security cases, actually by part of the Social Security Act, is that no individual is required to travel more than 75 miles for their Social Security hearing. So consequently, judges either go physically to other parts of the country within their particular jurisdiction, or they're done by video hearing.
okay, well, that's a great spot to take a break. When we return, we'll talk more with Chris about Social Security law. Please stay with us.
So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice. And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
We couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back. With us now is Chris Cornaghie. We are talking about Social Security law. Chris, I think we're at the point now to talk about offsets to benefits.
I think that's a place that a lot of people have some questions about. We talked about the amount of benefits that an individual could get and also some of the people that were eligible. Well, there are also some offsets and reductions to benefits. One of which is, say an individual is a spouse and maybe they've worked on their own. They can either draw their own Social Security benefit or they can draw the spouse's benefit, whichever of those is more, but they can't have both of those at the same time. And generally, a spouse's benefit is about 1/2 of whatever the worker or the wage earner may be receiving. If a spouse is working and trying to draw retirement benefits off their spouse, there's reductions for that as well, which follow the standard retirement reductions. A couple of other provisions that come up from time to time are called the government pension offset provision and the windfall elimination provision. Government pension offset provision, which Social Security calls the GPO, means that if you're a spouse and you had work in a civil service type of job, or let's say a job that did not pay Social Security tax, you cannot receive a full spouse's benefit and receive your own benefit at the same time. There's a reduction for that. Same thing under the workers, the WEP, the windfall elimination provision, which says that if you somehow worked as a civil service or in another federal type of job, and you also worked and gained Social Security credits, you'll get an offset between those two sets of benefits. You may not get those entirely. There are cost of living increases each year, and that's determined by Congress. People who are eligible for retirement and disability benefits are also eligible for Medicare, Part A, B, and D, and you can obtain that, but you'll have to pay the premium on Parts B and D. Retirement benefits is something that often comes up. People want to know because that's the thing that's most common, because it's funded by the FICA taxes. If you take benefits at age 62, you take a full 25% reduction in benefits, and that's a lifetime reduction. So when you attain full retirement age, that reduction is not going to be returned to you. And the reduction is less each year that you choose not to take the early retirement benefits, so that at age 63, you only have a 20% reduction in benefits, et cetera. At age 66, you get 100% of your benefit. If you choose not to take benefits at age 66, for each succeeding 12-month period, you get a plus 8% increase in benefits at age 70. So consequently, if you delayed benefit for the 4 years between 66 and 70, you would get a plus 32% increase in benefits. Now, from an actuarial standpoint, you probably would have to live until about between 79 and 81 in effect to make those numbers work out for you effectively. However, according to Social Security, the typical 65-year-old will live to 83. 1 in 4 will live to 90, and 1 in 10 will live to 95. So it's definitely something to be considered when you're planning for your retirement. Working after retirement, people always want to know about that. If you're between 62 and 66 and you've decided to take your Social Security benefits, the limit is $15,720 in 2015. For every $2 you earn over that, Social Security is going to take $1 back in benefits. Now keep in mind, you might want to look at that very carefully because people think they might want to retire, say about the end of the year, and they've already had a lot of earnings up to that period. They might want to wait until the first of the next year to do that. Medicare, one final item on that. You can choose whether you wish to accept Medicare Parts B and D. You'll get Part A, which is hospitalization anyway. Part B is physician services. Part D is medication. If you choose to decline B and D, you can recover that coverage at a later date, but you'll have to wait until open season each year, which is January to March. And if you choose to recover the benefits, then they're not effective until July of that same year. So that for individuals who become eligible to Medicare and may have other medical coverage, they may want to look at their situation very carefully because they could recover the Medicare, but not only do you have to wait, there's one more kicker to it. And that is if you decline Medicare Part B and D and you choose to take it at a later date, you get a 10% increase in premiums for every 12-month period that you were eligible, but you chose not to take the benefits.
That's, yeah. I mean, it's math intensive on figuring out where you're at with all this.
It can be. I will say that, again, the Social Security website It took them a while to get this up and running, but it's extremely effective. There's quite a lot of very excellent, understandable information on the website. Covers almost all of the normal topics that people have with regard to Social Security. All the forms are listed. If you decide you would like to research the law, all the Social Security Act, the regulations, et cetera, are also listed. And you can check on the status of an application. You can check on your earnings and benefit. It's really a great website.
I guess the one thing we haven't gotten into is the SSI.
SSI benefits are generally payable for people who are disabled. They do not ever have to have worked, or perhaps they didn't work enough in order to qualify for benefits. However, it comes with a very, very significant income and resource limitation. Really, SSI benefits are for people who, by and large, are indigent. If you have more than $2,000 in assets as an individual or $3,000 in assets as a couple, you're disqualified. Furthermore, SSI benefits are payable in a flat rate, which is roughly about $733 a month at the moment. It doesn't matter where you live in the country. It doesn't matter the severity of your medical condition if you're disabled. Everyone gets the same amount of money, but Social Security is allowed to reduce that if you're getting any other kind of regular income or items that are actually worth cash. As an example, you're living in someone else's household free of charge, and they're providing shelter, utilities, food, etc. Social Security will put a dollar value on that and subtract it from the $733. The benefit for most people is that if you get SSI benefit, you also get medical coverage. You get Medicaid, which in this state is known as TennCare. And that alone is sometimes the most valuable part of filing for those benefits. Children can also become eligible for SSI benefits. And again, that's a major reason for filing for benefits for a child, is to obtain the medical coverage.
Okay. Yeah, so our time is up for this edition of Law Talk. I'd like to thank our guest for taking time out of his busy schedule and being with us and sharing his thoughts and insights. Join us next month for part 2 of our discussion with Chris Cornaghie about Social Security law. If you would like more information about Law Talk or any other program on Germantown Municipal Television, please refer to our website at www.gmtvonline.org. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to join us each month for more legal topics. Until then, I'm Vince Perryman, and thank you for watching.